Hello there, beautiful people. Today we are going to be doing a deck tech. This is actually one of my favorite decks that I have. I haven't used it in FNM yet or ran it against anybody really. I mean, friends aside. But this is my red-blue control deck. Um, we're going to be going over the main board and sideboard today. I usually don't go over sideboards of my decks just because they don't really matter. But this deck, when you sideboard in all 15 cards, then the deck kind of goes into like this attack mode where people don't see the shift in movement of the deck. They don't see it coming. It's a really sweet deck. It's modern, or it's standard, so you can run this at FNMs and any cards that are going out. Again, just switch them out for other things that do the same kind of thing. We're going to be starting out with our land base. So we're running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 islands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 mountains. 2 Temple of Epitomes. And we're running 3 Shivan Reefs. The land base is really cool because you don't have too many cards that require a huge devotion to any one color, except for, the Planeswalkers, the Soul card, and Niv Mizzet that we're running. But we're going to start out with our 1-drops. We're going to start out with 1 Elixir of Immortality. I have 3 more in the sideboard because you can kind of burn through this deck by itself. You just let it burn itself out, and then you just restart the whole deck. It's a lot of fun to do that because for the most part the cards that you're drawing into are the 2 and 3 drops. So 1 Elixir of Immortality, it's a fun card to use for the deck. We're running all 4 a playset of the Judge's Familiar, just for that, just because he's kind of like a cheap cancel, and if you have a few of them out, then they can't really do anything to your creatures if you're playing another control-y deck. We have 2 Spell Blasts. I haven't really seen anyone use this card too much, so just 2 of those. You can cancel a spell. This deck has quite a few cancels in it, and a couple of other cards that will run off that cancel, like Illusionary Angel, which you can only play it if you cast another spell in the same turn. You cancel something stupid that they throw out, like a Magnus Ray, and then you get a 4/4 flyer for 3 more mana, so it's a fun deck in that aspect. We're running 4 Tidebinder Mages. I literally sideboarded these in last night to play against my friend who's got a red-green deck, just to mess with him. They don't really usually stay main board for too long just because you never know what you're going to be up against, so having them main board isn't the best idea. But it is a fun combo with the Quicklings. So you throw them back into your hand, tap something else down, throw them back into your hand, tap something else down. It's a fun combo. It aggravates people, but it'll keep you alive, which is what the deck is supposed to do with not that much life gain. A couple Mind Sculpts. Like I said, I have a couple more in the sideboard because burning through your opponent's deck is a lot of fun. Watch them aggro on you because you're burning out their deck. I don't keep them main board just because you never know how much it could help or hinder somebody. Like black decks, you really want to burn their decks out because they can't do anything. Other blue decks, it probably won't hurt them too bad because they'll just Elixir of Immortality themselves. Yeah, you can just burn people out. Red decks, if you burn out red decks, like burn decks, then they'll get pissed because you're throwing away their entire strategy, which is just their deck. Which a lot of decks just rely on the synergy of their cards like this deck does. So if someone burns out your deck, you don't really have to worry about it all that much. We're running 4 cancels because this is a very control-y deck. So 4 cancels to keep whatever they have to play out of your way. 1 Polymorphous Jest. I keep this main board. I never sideboard this card out. Just because you never know. Someone's going to swing in with something big, or they'll swing in and then buff, or they'll swing in and you just don't want them to hit you. So you Polymorphous Jest them. We've got 1 Divination right now. I've sideboarded out the other 3, and just to sideboard in the to bring in the Tidebinder Mages. The reason why Divination is an integral role in this deck is because we're going to be running Chasm Skulkers. So this is a Skulky kind of deck where people don't see your Chasm Skulker coming if you get him out too early. They're like, he's burning my field out and running Chasm Skulker. A good combo with Chasm Skulker is Jace's Ingenuity. Because it is an instant, someone swings in and they don't see this coming. It's a lot of fun to buff him up real quick. Just like, oh, you're swinging, alright, then let me just draw 3 cards. It puts people in a weird position where they start being afraid to swing in, or they'll just try to burn your Chasm Skulkers really quick, which then they mess up their late game because they just burned out your 3 drops, and you bring out like your 6 drops in the deck, and people don't really they don't have anything left. They've run out of steam. I have one Traumatized in this deck. Just like I said, I sideboarded it in just to burn out my friend's deck. It's the deck doesn't need it. I pulled it the other day, and it worked pretty well. But you could like switch it out for any other card in the deck for another double. Like you could put in another Polymorphous Jest if you wanted to. Getting into our 5 drops here, Traumatized. We're running 1 Karanis just because that draw 2 cards if you draw a land is really helpful for this deck, because late game you don't need land. You only need about 4 or 5 land on the field in order to really run the deck smooth. But Karanis, that indestructibility is really fun against the blue-white control decks because they just can't get them off the field. And every turn you're lightning shocking them, or you're bolting them every turn if you're drawing creatures. If you're drawing land, then you're drawing out your deck, and then you can just immortality yourself back up. We're running 2 Planeswalkers, 1 Jace, 1 Chandra. I usually don't really like running Planeswalkers, like I've said before. I find them kind of a scapegoat for weaker decks, but the combo that they have where Jace, if you have Jace and Chandra out, you'll use Jace's +1 to look at the top 2 cards, and then if you can play either one of them, you'll send one of them to the graveyard, and then you'll use Chandra's +1 to exile the top card of your deck, and then play it. So let's say you have Niv Mizzet, you pull Niv Mizzet and a Divination. You don't want the Divination that late game, or if it's early game, you just use the Divination. If it's late game, then you'll play Niv Mizzet, which he's one of our heavy hitters for this deck. He runs really well, and that Devotion cost is actually more of a helpful than hindrance with Karanis in the deck, because you do need that. I have 1 Archetype of Imagination to give everybody flying. I like that high Divination again with Karanis, giving Karanis flying, and then being able to swing in with him instead of Niv Mizzet really helps. It helps the deck run very smooth. 1 Soul of Ravnica, just again, if you're burning out your own deck and this is in your graveyard, you just sack it to pull 2 cards, which is pretty good. I put a Steam Augury in here, and you reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and you put them into 2 piles. At instant speed, if you know you're not getting anything good, like you use Jace's +1 and you know you're not getting anything good, you pull the top 5 and you see where the deck was going to go. And if it was going in a direction you didn't want, then it doesn't really matter anyways. But that's the main board, real simple, like lots of duplicates of everything. Now with this sideboard, we're running a much more like I said, this deck really goes into assault mode with the sideboard being the top card being Stormbreath Dragon, which he is a beast in this deck, and you really want him sideboard, not mainboard, just to surprise your opponent with him in this second game, where usually people don't see that you put a Stormbreath into a deck like this. I'm wanting 1 Melita Charlatan in case that you feel that you need that extra, you feel you should really traumatize them twice, and you feel like you could do that the second game, then you run the Melita Charlatan for that. 2 more Divinations in case you're up against a deck that can't really do anything against the Chasm Skulker. Then you'll sideboard those in and maybe put out the Illusionary Angels because you're not worrying about that, and you just run them over with the Chasm Skulkers because it can't do anything against him. 3 Into the Voids in case their fields get big on the first game where you feel like you should probably be sending everything right back to their hand. It's more of a hindrance on the other person than they think it is. Most of the people, like, they're like, all right, whatever, I'll just play it next turn, but I just burned out your mana for one turn and now you can't do anything against me for the next turn. A couple of lightning strikes, just in case that you got them that close where a lightning strike would have changed the game. If it's a close game, I might lightning strike, like pull in 2 lightning strikes and get rid of the 2 of the Tidebinder mages. If I feel the deck wasn't running smooth enough in the first game, I'll bring in 2 more elixirs just to get the deck running that much better and that much smoother. Like I said, the deck runs well. You can take out bits and pieces of this deck. You can take out bits and pieces of this deck without worrying about the whole entire idea of the deck falling apart, which is, canceling out their deck and just pulling out something that they can't really stop anymore. 2 more Mind Sculpts. Like I said, I sideboarded these out to bring in the Tidebinder mages. If you feel that someone's deck would just completely fall apart if you were to get rid of all their cards, like to burn out their deck, then you'd run the 2 Mind Sculpts. And then if someone keeps messing with their graveyards, or your graveyard even pulling cards out of it, Tormod's Crypt. This card has such a great place in this deck. For being a 0-drop, you cast it out. I'm pretty sure it still counts towards an Illusionary Angel, because you're casting a card from your hand. It just doesn't cost any mana. So you're casting out Tormod's Crypt. You play an Illusionary Angel on turn 3. Gets out a 4/4 flyer on turn 3. They can't really do too much about it. The last card that I forgot to mention is Jace's Mindseeker. This card is a lot of fun. If you are playing like those burn decks, you pull something out of it and you get their Lava Axe or something, and you just hit them with it. You slap them around with their own cards, which is why this deck is so much fun to play with. But that is my red-blue control. A lot of fun this deck is. If you guys feel like you have any comments or questions on the deck, let me know. If you feel like anything would fit well in this deck, let me know, and I'll update you guys when Khans of Tarkir comes out on this deck to see if it changes or if it just goes away all in all. But I appreciate for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and have a wonderful day.